I am joined by Dr. Brigitte Bojkowszky, who is a global brand identity strategist, a business educator, retreat host, and the visionary behind Brigitte Brands. With a background that spans from the skies as a flight attendant to the boardroom, the University Lecture Hall for over 2 decades, and the entrepreneurial world, Brigitte helps the individual and organizations uncover their brilliance and build aligned, authentic brands that radiate impact. She is the creator of the transformative personal branding retreat, I Am Becoming, which we'll hear all about. And that is designed for high achieving women in transition, ready to reclaim their identity and rise into visibility. She's also the host of her own podcast, Brands Talk, and she's a sought after speaker and a best selling author known for fusing strategy with soul in everything she does. And I'm very excited that you could take time out to sit with us and talk with us today, Brigitte, right from your home in Austria, which is very exciting too. So welcome to the Monday Morning Mojo Podcast.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much for having me today on your Monday morning, my Monday afternoon.
That's right. Yes. So I was really excited when a mutual friend introduced us and put us together. And as we've gotten to know each other just a little bit, I feel like we have so much that is in alignment with helping entrepreneurs really, I think, connect with more of their own potential. And you happen to do that through the marketing and the branding lens, which is everything. So I want to jump into that. But before we talk about branding, I would like to start with identity. And I've heard you say that branding begins with knowing who you are. And I would like for you to talk a little bit about that. What does that really mean, especially for the person who might be listening today who is working on that and might even feel like there could be a disconnect for them at some place?
That's such a beautiful question. Thank you. Because I'm a brand identity strategist.
Yeah.
And it's all about becoming, and you become an identity. When I say branding begins with identity, I'm not talking about self-help or surface level confidence. I'm talking about something that goes much deeper and is much more confronting, because many people are, as you say, incredibly successful on the outside, and they have checked all the boxes like
Right.
I did: careers and titles and businesses and also maybe visibility. And yet internally, something feels off. And disconnected. We are disconnected internally, misaligned, almost like they're living something else's version of success because we are so out-driven. And that's because branding doesn't start with how you look. It starts with how you see yourself. And that needs an introspection. Because we are always seeing branding as something, we're treating it as like something external. It's a logo, it's the colors, it's the website, the tagline. But branding is not what you build first. You don't build a brand first, you become it, whether it's a personal brand or it's a company brand. And becoming requires that introspection. It's the truth and it's the courage to do so. And it takes effort. Because when I finally turned the branding lens inward, everything also shifted for me. I didn't just clarify my message. I found myself. And there is a difference in this wording.
Yeah, for sure.
When I aligned with my inner world, and then with my outer presence, something happens. And the brand stops feeling forced and starts feeling inevitable. So there is this flow. What you feel, what you think, who you are, this is what you're showing to the world.
I love that.
And that's what I call identity thinking.
And you talked a little bit about, feeling disconnected or when we're misaligned. What do you think creates that space, that gap between who we are authentically and what we think we need to put out into the world?
Yeah, because we are out of focused.
Mhm.
We always think we have to perform, we have to fit in, we have to do this, we have to do that to belong, to be liked, to be part of a group. And that's where I think becomes, is the disconnect. Disconnect because we are out of focused and are not connected to our inner self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, the work can be a little challenging, right? Which is why it's helpful to work with someone like yourself, because you do have to really be introspective and you have to be willing to embrace those parts of you. And for some people, it's a challenge to even talk about themselves or to really give themselves credit for their strengths and all the things that make them unique.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've seen how people can build these beautiful brands and still feel that disconnect or still be sort of short-lived. What do you think is usually missing specifically when branding looks good on the surface, but it doesn't really last?
Yeah, another great question that goes back to what we have discussed before.
Mhm.
It's that we are usually missing the becoming part.
Mhm.
We confuse creating, we always creating, and we confuse this creating part with the becoming, especially when it comes to marketing at the end of the day. We always want to market something. We have this funnel approach and we need to get the clients, but you are creating from something. What are you creating from? First, you need to become so that you have a foundation you are creating from. Creating is doing, is content, is campaigns, it's offers, it's launches. It goes very much into the marketing, into the execution part already. And none of that is wrong per se, but you need to know that if you don't know what you're creating from, all of that effort turns into huge noise. And that's why there's so much noise out there. A lot of people are focusing on being out there and creating, but they don't know what from. There is no basis. There is nothing, there is no gravity. You can create endlessly and still feel invisible, because creation without identity has no gravity. And becoming is different. That's what is missing. And that's what many people overlook, especially entrepreneurs. It's an internal decision before this external expression. Everyone is focused on external expression, but it's about choosing who you are, what you stand for, what kind of impact you are here to make before you hit this push button. It's the essential question of who am I and what am I here for? The big why, right? Everything rests on that. Yeah? So when branding starts from the outside in, what we said, the logos and the website first, it looks very impressive. Wow. Yeah. But very often it feels empty. And I call this hollow marketing. There is no substance that supports that fills that void. You need to create this meaning, that what other people feel about a brand. What is it that you want others to feel about you?
I was literally just thinking that as you said that has to evoke some sort of I think you would agree, an emotional response from your client, right?
Emotions, and people remember the emotions. So first, a brand has a duality. There's the rational part and there's the emotional part. And when you first connect on a visceral emotional level, people remember. It's the story, it's the narrative, it's the why. And that is something that makes brand radiate. Then the brand has a meaning to you. They see themselves in you. They see you as an extension of yourself when it comes to company brands, product brands, like a car, like Apple. People, when it comes to Apple, for example, people don't connect to the design per se. They connect with what the design represents. What does it make of you? And the design is beautiful, but what people actually buy into is the identity, the philosophy, and the experience they have with that brand, and it makes you feel something, and that's why you buy it.
So I feel like what you're saying too is that you have to connect before you can sell. You have to really feel that connection with the client.
Yeah, because that becomes a translation, and then the brand has substance. So you need to embody a brand, and you really need to live it. and not just show it and not just design it and not just create it. You need to live it, and you can only live it when you have internalized it.
Right.
So there is, because if you just have this, you're putting it out there, usually you hire a marketing agency or maybe a branding agency to design something for you. Maybe for you it means, okay, I'm running with it, but have you internalized it? Have you embodied it? And I call this hollow branding because there is no substance in it. There is no, and I think this is important, no emotional anchor. There is no embodied meaning. And that's what the market senses instantly. It's the energy that comes across. And that's why we see brands rise fast and disappear fast.
Right.
And it's the so-called a flash in the pan. Yeah.
Right.
They were created but never embodied. There's a constant reinvention, disruption without an evolution going on. Yeah, something that is consistent, that stands the time. It's a rebranding all the time, new messaging every quarter, more tactics, more noise, no traction. Yeah.
How does someone know when they are moving from, because you create a space to really connect authentically with who you are and what your messaging is, your branding, probably why you even started the business in the first place, right? And so how do you know when you've nailed that, but you're actually moving into productivity or converting into, opportunity? Because I think for some people too, they look great and they may feel like they're in this authentic space, but they're just popular rather than converting business.
Yeah, they are popular and not converting because the authenticity is missing. They try to perform, but never come to themselves. There is no becoming, no understanding who we are, what we stand for, and whom we want to attract. This is a really important question you're asking right now. And many people don't even realize that, because they're just performing and never coming back home to themselves. And I think they are living, and when it comes to authenticity, to perform, to fit in, to be, on the latest trend, the next flashy thing out there that you are running after. Yeah. And so I think those who never connect with themselves are living in the box of inauthenticity. And I know what that is about. I was there as well for a time, but never feel really comfortable. Yeah? And we do that unconsciously. We adapt. As I said, we conform. We silence certain parts of us, of ourselves, meet those expectations, especially when we are in corporate, when we are a corporate leader. We need to align with the organizational culture, vision. And if there is a conflict, that might not be a long-term thing for you. Yeah. So we do that professionally, and we do that socially, and we do that culturally. And at first it feels safe because there's a sense of belonging. We fit in, it's safe, it's okay.
Yeah.
But
we feel accepted, we have a lot of followers per se.
Yeah. And this box that you're putting yourself into, squeezing yourself into, becomes suffocating over time. Yeah? And that's where the pain of inauthenticity begins. It's stress, it's burnout, you're doing a lot, you're working much, but there is no conversion, there is no outcome. It doesn't, it doesn't go there. You're not achieving your goals. And there is this sense of emptiness. And the question comes up, is this really it? Is this really it? People are in this rat race. And authenticity turns into performance. You feel like constantly managing. You're constantly managing how you're perceived instead of expressing who you are. And this managing is exhausting. And you feel drained. Instead of it, actually, it should ground you. Yeah, it should make you more energetic.
Feel recharged, right? When you get into it. Yeah.
Exactly. And then comes a turning point where, for example, I said, enough is enough. Yeah? When the pain of staying misaligned in this box, you're not feeling comfortable, you're feeling you have a mask on, you have this facade, you're not really you. Yeah? When this pain becomes greater than the fear of being seen, the fear of being vulnerable. And that's when people move into what I call an authentic identity, where your confidence suddenly rises, where the creativity flows, and yeah, also your influence, the influence of other people, and maybe your audience really expands. So in that regard, authenticity is key, and it's not a strategy, it's a state of being,
I love
becoming.
that. It's not a strategy, it's a state of being. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. You teach that the entrepreneurial branding journey happens through three pillars: mindset,
Mhm.
the personal brand, and the business brand. So we've been touching on that, but let's just get into some specifics for anyone listening who's thinking like, yes, this is exactly what I need right now. So let's talk about mindset for a moment. Why is that first?
Yeah, because mindset is the operating system.
Right.
You cannot run without an operating system, and everything else is actually an application that's built upon mindset.
It gets us
Entrepreneur.
even before you have to identify your business brand. In other words, you
Yeah,
talked about that earlier, going within, right?
yeah, and because when we identify with the business brand and logo and etc., you start with the end. What does it do? You cannot start, oh, I need this color, I need color red because I'm in the food industry or whatsoever. No, that's what I said before. You need to start with mindset, because entrepreneurship per se, when you see it in a bigger picture, is no linear journey. It's a
No.
psychological one.
Yes.
And it's messy. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a constant cycle of uncertainty, decision making, visibility, rejection, growth, and responsibility. And if you don't address mindset, and here we talk about a mindset from whatever you were before, like an employee, here you have a different mindset than as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, that you need to adapt and kind of internalize and live. It's
Mhm.
addressing self-limiting beliefs, self-trust, resilience, inner alignment. And if you don't do that, branding, like this outer branding, becomes totally fragile. It's collapsing once you just push it, you nudge it a little bit, because people don't know what it really means. They haven't put meaning into it. Yeah? So you need to first work on, what is my vision? What is the legacy I want to leave behind? What is my big why? What is my, let's call it the soul mission. Usually
Mm.
people like you and me, we start our business because there was a pain, and this becomes a purpose, and there's a soul mission attached to it. So what is that? And what are the values I want to live by and breathe every day? And that becomes the foundation for building the brand called you. Based on that, you build your personal brand.
I just want to add something. What you just said about values is so important, because that they are the rules we live by, and they become our inner GPS. And so
Mhm.
I feel like that's really important, that you help the client connect with their values, because that shows up in how they operate their business every day.
Yeah, I think 2/3 even, yeah, of a successful entrepreneur is how you see yourself first, what you believe is possible. You have to have these crazy goals. You go beyond what I can, what I think I can. You go beyond that, way
Mhm.
more beyond. You need to have this higher calling, this North Star. And then how you handle visibility. Based on your mindset, you handle visibility. And how you respond to failure, because it's coming, it's there, it's around the corner.
It's really failure. And we've talked about that a lot here on Mojo. Failure is part of success. It's something that I think we have to. Now, you can say, I don't want to plan for failure. So you want to plan for successful outcomes, but yet we learn so much from failure. And that's how we move forward in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's the feedback you get.
Yes.
It's a learning feedback, and it's a redirection.
Yes.
Because when you reflect and see it in a positive way, what is the gift in it? There is
Yeah.
always a gift.
That's right. We don't see it at the moment, but then when we look back, we find that for sure. Yeah. So, Bridget, anyone listening can certainly see your passion for the work that you do. And I mentioned when we opened the show a little bit about your background. And I just want to kind of divert to that for a second. What brought you to this moment when you think about your career and obviously your own personal brand? What is important to you about this journey and the mission you have to help other business owners really connect with those values and their authenticity and their messaging so that it really comes through in their branding. What drives you to do it?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually based on my own journey. I'm coming from the skies as a flight attendant, as you know, you have mentioned it at the beginning when you introduced me, and then to becoming a student, and then from student to corporate, and back to being a student, and again back to corporate, and becoming a teaching professor during the financial crisis when I lost my job in the real estate sector. From that, then becoming an entrepreneur. And I have seen that each individual chapter on this journey was actually an important learning to my becoming right now. And beyond that, or beneath this kind of resume that I have, is also something that is very personal. I know what it feels like to be invisible. And I went through that. I was succeeding outwardly, but internally I was shrinking. I was disconnected to the inside. And I was also in roles that did not reflect who I truly was. So I went through all of that. And there were some transitions in my life I chose. Stop flying, start studying. But there were others. The financial crisis definitely nudged me into doing something
We
else.
found you.
There is something else for you. You need to see that. So I always knew that there is something good in it. And what I've also learned, and that's what you need as an entrepreneur, is the resilience, the discipline, the grit, the perseverance, and the belief in yourself that you can do it. And
or at least figure it out. I've said too, right? Like you have to believe that you have the resources around you to figure it out, whether it's technology, research, people like you, right? How do we figure it out?
Yeah, and then I also figured that the true resilience is more to that. It's not just coming from pushing harder, it's really also from coming to turning inward. And that's the identity work, the inner work, the uncomfortable, the honest
That's
work.
what you start with when someone comes to you, a client comes to you to work with you. Can you just describe a little bit about your process? Because you probably are creating a lot of curiosity around that.
Yeah, I mean, they come to me, we have a one-on-one conversation and then talk about what would be the perfect program with me. Is it a one-on-one coaching? Is it part of a group coaching? Is it my retreat that I'm offering yearly right now? So what is it and where they are? And then after this discussion, I send them an intake form so they need to fill in, so that I get to know them. I don't want to spend much of the time of my coaching to asking always these questions. There will be always questions I'm asking, but I need to start from somewhere.
Right.
So they put that in and then we go. And it's about either it's more the personal branding work, the mindset work. Is it about the entrepreneurial branding work where we not only look at mindset and personal branding, but also the company, the business brand, because that's what I have done for 25 years. And I've also studied it on an international level. So it's how to create a strong corporate or company identity as well. So it really depends on where they are. Or it's an executive who wants to work on their presence, on their executive presence, because that's also mindset work that goes into that. And right now I'm doing a certification to become a success mindset coach and mentor, so that I'm weaving that also into my work. So it becomes full circle. And coming from these big brands, I have learned that branding isn't just for businesses, it's for people. It's the identity work where we anchor ourselves. And so I want to say that every chapter in this life prepared me for that soul mission to support others who feel unseen or who are misaligned, who need to hit the pause button and want to reclaim their brilliance, their greatness. anchor their identity, what I think is the most important thing, and everything starts from there. And then also to building a personal brand or entrepreneur brand or company brand, and ultimately that doesn't collapse when circumstances change, because we are living in a volatile world.
Yeah.
And we are forced in a sense, if you're not aligned with yourself, to live in this out of comfort zone. Yeah, we have to experiment. We are very often confronted with nothingness. So what's now? But when you're rooted in your true essence, you are guided by your principles, by your values. Nothing can go wrong.
That's a very important point you're making, because the world is always changing. And while there is room to always adapt and pivot, and certainly depending on the industry or profession you might be in, there are messages coming from your marketplace that might speak to you about how you're going to pivot and how you're going to be successful in that season. But then there's a balance between that and really, I think, being confident enough to stand in your authenticity through all those changes, right? And have that core element of your brand that is timeless. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything changes: marketing, tactics, dynamics, the external environment, the industry, everything is changing. The only thing that is evolving over time with you, yeah, and evolving means is consistent. Yeah? Don't really see whether that it is changing, but it is, because you are changing, you're learning, you're integrating the experiences, which becomes part of your identity. Yeah, your branding stays with you.
Yes.
You just apply different tactics.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, you are right.
Yeah, different tactics and strategy. So I want to go back. You mentioned briefly your retreat. I want to talk a little bit about that. Maybe what inspired you to design a retreat. And the retreat is titled I Am Becoming. And I think you've talked about it being centered on reclamation rather than reinvention. So talk to us a little bit about I think, the spirit of your retreat and what it is that you hope people walk away with from the experience.
And thank you so much for mentioning the retreat. It's coming up June 24 till 28. It's in Austria, in the countryside. It's a beautiful, sacred place in the middle of the nature, in the middle of nowhere, but close to hubs, so easy to access, basically. The retreat is called I Am Becoming, as what you're talking about right now. It's an immersive journey of reclamation, realignment, and also so-called reinvention. Reinvention in a way of evolving authentically into your next chapter, understanding what am I, who am I becoming, and also how do I get there. So it's for women right now. It's open for women. Men can come along, but they just enjoy the vibe. They're doing other things. They're not participating in the sessions, but they can come along. It's where these accomplished women pause. They hit the pause button. They pause the noise. They step into the stillness and also discover for them who they are, not just what's next, but also then what they are becoming. So I think that is necessary to do something like this once a year, because you are different than the person you were last year and the year before. I have executives coming, they do something like that every year. And I think it's really important because it's about personal development. And you have it in your hands. You can control that to a certain extent. And I created it because I was that person. I was accomplished on paper, unfulfilled in truth, and outgrowing also my identity. And I searched for something like that. And then I didn't find it, so I created it. And once you start, becoming, and then also having your goals and creating towards that goals, things are aligning and unfolding.
Your retreat mostly about that personal discovery, or will you also help clients or participants in the retreat start to work on their branding, or is it really the pre-work?
Yeah, no, it's the mindset work, but also in that regard, they're also working on their personal brand. It totally filters into that. So we do a lot of group work. We do work that you do alone. You do your meditation, or you are reflecting, and you come together. You are discussing. I'm also doing one-on-ones, so I always take the time to have several one-on-ones with each individual person.
And it's an intimate group, right? It's not a group of 100 women.
No,
Right.
it's 8 women maximum. So it's a really small
Wow.
group where you can go very, very deep and go to the core. And I'm also flexible. If there is a certain thing that pops up, we deal with that. And there's so much joy then, and tears of joy, because suddenly they figured out what the problem was. And this is always like, something to celebrate and sharing. It's also a sisterhood thing. You're becoming part of something. You're a part of a community. And I still have the conversations with my women, and we are meeting one-on-one now and
That's
then.
great.
And
Well, and I think that's
So-
a big key to success too, is just the feeling like you belong and having that community and mentorship. I think that's so important for women.
yeah,
And
it's not only strategy work, but it's also, we are going outdoors. We are doing forest bathing. We are having outdoor rides. There is a lot of things that help you really translate that and really integrate that. And you have enough me time, because everyone has a different pacing. I make sure that everyone gets there where they are supposed to be and becoming.
beautiful. And I know you could work with many different types of professionals. I'm just curious, who are some of your ideal clients? What type of industries are they in? Or do you find any sort of patterns with the people who come to work with you?
Yeah, people who work with me are leaders, entrepreneurs, or people who start their entrepreneurial journey, people who are business owners. For example, there was a woman who has inherited the family business in a male-dominated industry, and she needed to find herself in there and come up with her vision for herself and the business she has inherited. So that, for example, is an ideal client. It's executives in high-level positions. It's people who are climbing the career ladder when it comes to executive presence. What is that? And how do when it comes to personal development, how can I really work on myself in order to climb the career ladder? So it's all about personal branding, leadership branding, and corporate identity. Or I had another example would be a subsidiary of a big US company that did its own sub-branding as a subsidiary. And to brand in alignment with the corporate brand, and then help to establish a corporate identity that feels real and also invites people to work, and also to provide the best possible service in a different way than everyone else. So coming up with a unique corporate identity, I think this is also one of my core. I have done that for the last 25 years. So this is also one of my fortes that I love to do.
That's great. Okay.
In that like picture, that the complexities of strategic business units and how to brand that.
Great. So for the person who might be listening right now, who you're really connecting with, and they're realizing that maybe they've outgrown what they thought was their branding or their identity in some way, but they're not sure what could be next or how to get started. Is there a question that you could give away as a gift to someone listening right now? What would be, let's say, the first honest question that they should really ask themselves to begin this journey?
Yeah, it's so nice how you call it and how you phrase that. Yeah, there is a question. The most powerful question I think there is.
Down.
It's not what's next. This is part of it. This is one of the sub questions that come along. But who am I committed to becoming? Because in order to become, you need to 100% commit yourself. to that, to becoming that person. And actually, you are living it already. It's in there. It's not becoming, adding more layers of this or that. It's excavating. It's taking off layer
Yes.
by layer. And you know that, yeah, of
I think that's
condition.
so important. What you just said is gold right there. That
Yeah.
it's, sometimes I think people shy away from the work because they think it means they have to build something, and in a way you are, but what you just said is powerful. It's excavating what's already behind the layers or under the surface and reconnecting with that part of you that is really going to help you be successful, because when you show up in your authentic power, in your true authentic self, you'll attract the people who you're meant to work with every time, right? You'll attract the people who are really laying awake at night worrying about a solution that you have the answer to. And
Yeah.
it's not that they're sitting up at night saying, oh my gosh, I need to hire a coach. Oh, I need a branding expert. But they're losing sleep over other things. And that's what I would say to anyone listening is, what are you losing sleep over? And what is that solution? Could you possibly have the key already that you just have to unlock? And I think that's great. So to go back to what you're saying, it's really uncovering who you already are. And that's in the becoming too.
Yeah, it's you reveal it what's already there. And when you do that in a work, and when we talk about marketing, then it flows naturally from it. Yeah, because you have done the hard work with understanding who you are, and there might be some other questions that you want to ask yourself in line with who am I committed to becoming, is what truth am I still not voicing? Because you are uncovering, you're revealing what is down there that you're not voicing yet. Yeah. And what value do I bring in a way only I can? So it's not just about being different. Of course you need to, because there are other players in the market and you need to differentiate yourself. You need to have this relevance. But what difference are you creating for them? And there needs to be a difference that they feel, that they choose you, they see themselves in you, then suddenly whether your product, service, or even that person, that role model, and that person that helps you, empower you in whatever that is, and they say, yes, this is the right person I want to work with because she makes a difference for me in my life.
That's powerful. That's awesome. So, Brigitte, this has been great. And as people are listening to this and feeling inspired by you, how can they connect with you? What are some ways that they can find you or maybe even work with you? And remind us again, too, about the retreat. And we'll put the links to Brigitte and her retreat, everything in our show notes. But just tell us a little bit about how they can connect with you and find you.
Yeah. So first of all, I have a website, brigittebrands.com, and also a website for the retreat. And I'm very, very busy and creating content on LinkedIn. And I'm also on Instagram. I am on Facebook, but I'm not checking Facebook all the time. So I think that is also something that creators who are in this space, entrepreneurs who have a social media following, decide where they want to be and what is the right channel for them.
Sure.
Find their clients. So for me, it's LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I also have a YouTube channel, so it's there as well.
Okay, great. So we'll put links to that. And again, tell us when the retreat is. It's in June, you said?
Yeah, it's June 24th till 28th, 2026 here in Austria.
In
and
Austria,
if you want to learn more about it, please. Yeah, I think you can also, I think I also gave you the link to the Calendly so people can.
We can put that in the show notes too. I mean, I feel like what an amazing experience just to be able, for those of us who are in the States, to be able to travel to Austria for a few days and really to work with someone like you. And like you said, hit the pause button, because what I love about the retreat you've designed is that it just removes us from all the distractions and it takes us into this beautiful place that you've described in nature. to do the work first on ourselves in order to do the work on our business. And I, like you, believe mindset is everything. I think it's probably 95% of our success, because whatever you believe to be true is going to be true for you. And so we do have to start there.
Yeah.
This has been great. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I'm sure we're going to talk more in the future. I look forward to doing that and collaborating with you some more. But is there anything that you would like to say in closing that we haven't touched on?
I think that actually is it. I think that was already a lot. Maybe there's one last question you might ask yourself when it comes to who am I becoming? Maybe who am I when I stop trying to be someone else? We're always comparing ourselves with others and see others thrive here and why I'm not there and da 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 da. So maybe it's also bringing a different perspective into this becoming, to what is truly you and not someone else.
I love that's a great place to end right there. We're going to put those questions in the show notes for everyone as well. Because if you're like me, you might be listening on the go, and I want you to have those questions to be able to work on. Brigitte, thank you so much. This was fabulous. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you listening week after week. So I will see you in the next episode. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.